Hi everyone, welcome to the SuperClashBros, a podcast where we take a deep dive into the horror stories of Reddit and discuss the things that truly go bump in the night. My name is Trey, and I will be your guide through the strange and unexplainable this evening. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Trey, and today I'm joined once again by my co-host Connor. It seems like it's just been the two of us for the last while now. The last 5 stories we've done or something at this point. Probably, maybe one day we can get the other guys back on here. But you know, life is life. Things happen. People get busy. People get sick. But yeah. Anyway, moving on. I'll be narrating today's story, which comes from the subreddit Paranormal, and has been posted by the user gowthika. I hope I said that right. Who knows? And it is today's story is called Haunted School. All right, here it goes. Well, okay. First, let me preface this story. So this is like a 4-for-1 story. They've broken this down to like 4 separate things here. So I'll number them as we go through the story. All right. As a kid, I went to a school that was renowned for being haunted. It was built in the 1910s, but somewhere in the mid-1950s, there was a devastating fire that burnt the whole top floor, and many children died that night. They rebuilt the building without the top floor, making it a 2-story building with a really creepy basement. I have a few stories to share about this school. Number 1. There was always an eerie feeling about the school. If I was walking around alone, I felt like I was always being watched. The wall of one staircase was filled with the paintings of children of former students. These paintings took up 3 floors of staircases. Every time my friends and I passed by these paintings, we would find something different. A soccer ball that was never there, a girl with a flower that was never there, etc. One day we decided to take note of specific things to see if they were the same the next day. This was the time of no phones, so no pictures. One note that we took was that one girl in the paintings was smiling and looking towards the right at her friend with a flower. The next day, the girl was looking straight, directly at us with no smile. We then avoided that staircase at all costs. Number 2. The school had a boiler room that you could peek into from the outside, but weren't allowed inside. Sometimes at recess, when we were playing around that area, we would see a white apparition dart around inside. When we would look through the window, nothing would be there. Being kids, we were a bit curious though. One day we were having an event after school and decided to go up to the boiler room door and try to open it bravely, since our parents were in the gymnasium next to it. When we turned the doorknob, it was locked, so we knocked on it 3 times to be exact. Immediately, we got 3 knocks back from the other side, and the doorknob started rattling like it was going to open. We all ran for the gymnasium and never looked back. Number 3. This story is also about the boiler room, and it may sound absolutely crazy, but I swear it's true, and one of the craziest things that has ever happened to me. Once, when I peeked in from the outside, I saw a huge pipe in the middle of the wall, extending into an abyss. At the edge of the pipe was a girl's body, just lying there, presumably dead. I told my friends to look, but by the time they peeked in, it was gone. For about a month from that day, I kept having nightmares of a girl in black, with black hair, pale skin, begging me to help her. It was always the same dream, and when I asked her what she needed help with / from, the dream would end before she could tell me. Creepy. Number 4. This is a story I heard from the janitors who spent the night at the school. They were in the janitor's office in the basement, one night just chatting and having some snacks when they heard kids laughing. It gradually got louder and they started hearing multiple kids laughing, balls bouncing, playing, running around, etc. They went into the gymnasium where the sounds were coming from, and they immediately stopped. They found one singular ball in the middle of the gym, and it rolled over to them. Anyways, they eventually broke down the school, and now they've built houses on the lot. Thanks for listening. That's the story.
Man, I think the ending is unintentionally ominous too.
Right, how they tear it down.
These houses now?
Yeah, oh yeah, that's even worse, man. Like there are other people living on it.
Can you imagine if the person who posted this decided to go to one of the people who lives at one of these houses and be like, "Hey, is anything weird happening
Right. Like, have
here?"
you had any weird experiences? And they're like, now that you mention it, there's this like girl's body that I see every once in a while. So like,
Gosh.
excuse me. It's like I've been having these nightmares forever.
I mean, there's a whole lot to unpack with
Hmm.
these stories, I suppose. So the first one, I kind of wonder how they were documenting the changes
To the pictures.
to the pictures. Like, were they just like remembering it and
Well,
then
no,
coming
they
back
they
and
were they were writing notes, is what it says.
okay. So I hmm. That kind of gives me the whole the Harry Potter vibe with the
Right.
moving
Yeah.
portraits and stuff.
Yeah. I don't think this is nearly as cool and whimsical as that, but
No, they could be. They never talked to the kids
that's
and asked
true.
them if they were
Yeah,
nice.
that's true. Maybe they'd open
And
a secret passage. You never know.
yeah, they'll tell you, hey, go on this pathway and get ganked in the boiler room.
I I
But
find it weird that the janitors like stay the entire night there, or maybe they
yeah,
just they just work at night. I don't know.
no, that
But
seems a
could
little
you
suspect.
imagine that, like being in a place overnight and then like you hear people, even though like all the people who are there with you, and then
Yeah.
like you go into a place that's vacant and there's just like an object that rolls towards you.
Hmm.
I'd be like, no, like I'm leaving. I'd be out so fast.
And so the story said that there were people who like died or kids that died in a fire there, right?
Yeah.
I think in a lot of places where there's been death, particularly death with kids involved, everybody seems to think that there's like a negative energy attached to that in those kind of places. And to some extent I could see that because like the thought of seeing like I don't know, like a creepy child where you don't expect to see a child is a little unnerving, right?
Right.
So just thinking about the boiler room
Mm-hmm.
made me imagine like what if hear me out now. What if there was just a kid who like went in that boiler room just to take naps and the other kid just saw her sleeping in there, assumed she was dead and was like, "Oh god," and has now lived his entire life thinking this. And that
but
girl is none the wiser. She's just like, "Yeah, I used to nap in the boiler room when I was a
but
kid."
like, who as a child would be like, oh yes, the basement. Let's go nap in the basement. Like
Dude,
what?
kids, man.
I don't know, dude. I think it's far fetched. I mean, it's possible, but I think it's far fetched.
I think it's
Um,
fun to
like
imagine.
I know me personally as a kid, at my dad's place where he still currently lives. Um, my childhood home, our our basement, like there was just like a really long staircase that went down into our basement,
Yeah.
and I always felt creepy going down there. And like once I was down there, like it was kind of fine, but it was always like coming back up the stairs that I don't want to say terrified me, but made me feel the most uneasy. Like I would run up those stairs as fast as I could every time, and it's just because I felt like at any moment something could come up from behind me and like drag me back down.
Hmm.
And I'd like to say that that's probably a pretty common occurrence for a lot of children.
Yeah.
So to say that someone would willingly go down there to like take a nap, it
I
seems
think
seems kind of
I
out
wonder
of.
what it is, but I think every kid is kind of sort of scared of basements or like subterranean levels of
I think
building.
it's probably a mix between some like primitive thing of like caves having maybe like creatures back in the day of like cavemen and whatnot, and so like there was danger there, and maybe we've carried that with us through evolution, and then also throw in like just horror movies or horror stories in general throughout civilization, where it's like, oh, it's dark and it's creepy down here.
Hmm.
So,
So I have this theory that like all a creepy place needs is better lighting. And I tested this theory at my last house. So the basement downstairs at that place was fairly creepy, and it was an older house built in the 50s. And I went down and I replaced all of the bulbs with bright white LED bulbs. And honestly, it was a little bit different of a vibe. It was not as creepy. I didn't like feel as uneasy going down into the basement anymore. So I kind of just wonder, what can some bright lights do to a place?
yeah, I mean, it's like I know I've talked about it in like another episode and in this one, but like I think a lot of our fear is primitive, like it comes from just generations of, I guess, like genetics and conditioning. But everyone is afraid of the dark at a certain
Yep.
point in their life, and some people carry that with them into adulthood. And it's just a fear of not knowing what's around you, like not being able to see it.
I
And
think
I think that just makes people uneasy.
I think everyone, I don't care what anyone says, I think everyone will always be afraid of the dark.
Oh, of course.
Some level at
If
all.
I'm in a pitch like black plate, like it's dark, like I can't see a single thing in front of me, like I'm already like on edge. And then if I hear something,
Hmm.
like it's even worse.
Put the most tough as nails person into a pitch black, creepy room.
Yeah,
Yeah,
unless they're like 100% confident that they could take on whatever they think is in there. Like, yeah, everyone's gonna have a little anxiety for
yeah.
sure.
But yeah, I I hear all these stories about places where there were children. I recently watched a Netflix series called The Unexplained, and they were talking about this children's amusement park that was built on Indian burial grounds, and all these tragedies kept happening at this place. So this theory that there's like a negative energy attached around like children or the death of children is very interesting to me.
Yeah, I mean, like I've said it before. I don't believe in the afterlife and stuff like that, um, or necessarily like things that are paranormal. However, like I would love to see something, like I'd love for my mindset to be changed.
Hmm.
And hey, maybe in the future, like we can go do like a ghost hunt or something and record it for the channel. You never know what we might find.
Yeah, man.
But does it still make me uneasy? The thought of stuff like that. Yeah, of course. Like, would I go to a place that was built on top of a like burial ground? No. Am I gonna play with a Ouija board? No. Am I gonna
Would you buy a
um,
house you knew someone died in?
possibly if the discount was good enough?
They're like, yeah,
But
somebody was stabbed to the death and they never found the killer. They were stabbed in the living room.
that's crazy. Was that what like 20K off? Like, what are we talking here? But yeah, I mean, it depends. It would honestly depend for me. Like if I don't know how it would feel living in a haunted space. Like I've seen I forget what the channel is. But like I've seen a channel on YouTube where the dude just like lives with a poltergeist, and
Mm-hmm.
like it's constantly like breaking his shit and like opening all his doors and like just messing with all his stuff. And he doesn't seem necessarily like scared by it. Like, yeah, there are some instances where he is, but he seems mostly annoyed. And I think that that's how it would be for me. Like the first few times, I'd be like, oh no, and then like after that, I'd just be like, come on, dude, like knock it the fuck off.
See, the thing is, I don't think it would ever progress past the first few times for me because after the first few times of something substantial enough to get my attention, I'd be like, yeah, I'm out. I think I'm out. I don't care.
Well,
I
I
just saw
mean,
this man
you gotta think. I mean, like, say you're renting a place, you know, and you don't have the money to find another place or break your lease, so you're stuck there for that a certain amount of time.
Nah, bitch, I'm homeless.
Like, I'm living in my car. Like, fuck that.
I don't fuck with weird shit. I don't.
I don't know. I think I'd be. I'd probably stay. At least till the lease was up, and then I'd probably dip out after that. But you know. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for us tonight, guys. If you have any stories you'd like to share, you can do so via our email at scspookycast@gmail.com. We will put the link to that in the description below, as always. Go get some merch. We're still doing the merch through October. I don't know. We might do it later than October. I don't know. We'll have to talk about that. But yeah. We hope you guys have a safe and spooky night, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.